So, I don't know how many views that my comment response video got, but hopefully people, you know, got the idea of everything's going on. And, I'll share this part right here as well, and I don't really want to make it all about it. Yeah, I did not grow up with a school education. Um, at the time when I was in school, kids with disabilities, we were separated. And they didn't always give us the time of day, if you will. And we were heavily overlooked, heavily ignored. They just didn't bother. They gave us stuff to do, but not to the point of, not to the point of really learning. And as time progressed, yeah, like I suffered like so many others did in that scenario, like just suffered. And it wasn't fun. It really wasn't. Because of that, because of it, there was one job I did have, right? Or I would say before one job, is that because of I was born challenged. Yeah, it caused my dad not to be a part of my life, not to really show me or teach me anything. My mother, for a while, wanted nothing to do with me. She would get frustrated because I didn't understand the work. There were times where, yes, she would clench her fist into a ball and hit me in my head with rings on because I couldn't understand the work. So, yeah, I grew up without an education, And as time progressed in the state that I live in, within the state of Tennessee, over time they said, okay, we're not going to hire people who are challenged anymore. So when somebody does try to come along for a job and you tell them, yes, you're on the spectrum, you're challenged, you show them your test results, your weaknesses and your strengths, unfortunately jobs are just not going to want to hire people like that. No matter what level you're at, they don't want to do it, which is wrong, but that's what they do. I did have one job. It was a job with people who were challenged, but it wasn't the best job, and I was mainly around a lot of drug addicts, I would say, because I used to build hot water heaters. It was called TRC, that stood for Tennessee Rehabilitation Center, and a lot of people there had issues, and there was a lot of disability abuse that took place behind closed doors. It took place behind closed doors. And, I stayed there until, I said, look, man, I have enough staying here. The money isn't worth it. Now, they tried to have us work towards minimum wage, which was only $500. So I said, I'm not going to work towards minimum wage because I was still able to make what I wanted, which was over $500. Right? And I still got my pay tabs to prove that. So yeah, I did work. There were a few times where I did want to get a job. The thing is, I had nothing to put down on an application. I had no work experience. I had no contacts, no resources, to really put down the things that you would need to put down on an application. So, because most of my applications were just nothing there, and a lot of my background and schooling was looked into, I got an offer at one time from the state, or said county, I would say, within my area to say, hey, we know you tried putting in job applications, nothing there. I can't remember what was said verbatim. I can't remember. But they looked into my case and everything and said, well, it seems you didn't really complete high school. Your records, you did suffer in school and didn't complete it. We looked into, see here, learning disabilities of being challenged. I said, yeah. So they said, this is what we're going to do. If you want to get a job, we're going to make you an offer to go back to school for 6 months to get your GED. We already have a program looked in, picked out for you. So they passed me through. It took several phone calls to call back with other information. Now, I wanted to go through it. Thing is, they wanted me to pay, around $3,000 plus how much it would cost in books. There's no really telling how much I would get stuck for. Social Security said if you do, we will cut you off of disability, which was bullshit, so I couldn't go through with it. And besides, I didn't have the money regardless. Even now that I receive survivor's benefits, that threat from Social Security still holds. It's like, yeah, we're going to cut you off if you do. But even then, like I said, with right now, I should say, with all the new requirements, it would be a waste because in my state, they are not going to hire people who are challenged. They will not hire people who have not completed, full 4 years of high school. They're not going to, this is what you have to really meet now in my state, especially in my area. And I'm speaking on experience here. You have to have full 4 years of high school. You have to have at least a year to 6 months of college under your belt. Your studies. You cannot have any type of disabilities, challenges. You have to show some sense of work history, right? With a certain amount of pay that you do have to meet within a yearly income, right? Not weekly, monthly, yearly. You do have to have good credit. That is 100% required to do. You gotta have good credit. Right? You gotta be able to have your own vehicle transportation. With all that. So those are the requirements that one has to meet in my area just to get a job. One of the requirements, they don't care about if you're a drug addict. They don't care about that. Because I will tell you, man, these jobs here in my area, they don't drug test. They really don't. But I just wanted to share this part. Yeah. I don't have an education. Really don't. Which is why so many of the people that want to say what they want to say, yeah, I have to save up money and wait out of my monthly check just to get a PS5 again and some games.